What's going on, everybody? Pretty slow news day this afternoon. We were gonna, chop it up about Lagway and talk about a hammy. And Trey Wilson had surgery, Tryon Webb done for the year, and then, boom, 11 a.m. Scott Strickland drops. Billy Napier wanted to let you know he will continue as the head coach for the Florida Gators, coming back in 2025. Oh boy, man, Graham, I was super ecstatic. I was stoked. I had a big fist up, man. I was ready, man.
Dylan,
geez, man.
I know you don't think you have to, but you need to tell people that you're being sarcastic, because with the way people are jumping on stuff today, they're gonna think you're serious about that.
No, what's the point of making the decision right now? You still have 5 games left. Or 4, whatever it is.
Well, let me stop you there, Dylan. A public announcement was made today. A decision was probably made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Or possibly even Saturday night after they showed good fight against Georgia. We're going to go ahead and get into this here. So I was opening up the comments so I can see when people chime in. Anybody drop? We probably are not going to be able to answer every comment that people say and whatnot, but as it comes and we see good stuff, we might touch on one or two. Dylan, here's what's got to be understood by people, and at least in my opinion, this is the way things have gone down. You were starting to hear some rumblings a couple weeks ago, particularly after they beat UCF and then they beat Kentucky and then they have the bye week. And then now they lost to Georgia, but showed some fight against Georgia. They were competitive against Tennessee. In the last month or so that they have played better, you've been starting to hear some rumblings that Napier's getting 2025 and that he's going to come back. So with that understood, I believe in my heart of hearts, I don't have insider information on that. I'm not in Scott Strickland's inner circle. I'm not in the boosters' inner circle. I don't have insider knowledge on this. This is just my gut feeling. I believe this decision was made before today. I believe this decision was made a couple weeks ago, maybe after the Kentucky game, somewhere in there. Strickland, boosters, what have you, whoever's making this official decision, or whatever group of people is making this official decision, got together and said, Napier is the coach of 2025. We're keeping this guy. That said, this public announcement was a smart decision in and of itself. If you as UF Athletic Administration decided this is our coach in 2025, then you have to go all in and publicly come out there and say he's your coach, so as to not allow other coaches to continue to get into recruits' living rooms and say, how could you possibly go there when you don't know he's going to be the coach next year? I believe the reason people are so furious and people are so upset is because they believe that this decision is new. They believe that there was still a world where Napier was going to get fired this year. I got news for you. Unless they just were to fall flat on their face again, that wasn't going to happen. This move was going to be inevitable either way.
I told him, Matt Hayes, when my show Jaguars Today went off the air, Matt Hayes, national college football writer, does XL Primetime on 1010XL. I said, does this have anything to do with, the president? You have the interim, Ken Fox still in, you don't know what that's going to look like, and Scott Strickland, like all that stuff going on. He goes, that has nothing to do with it. This was 100% Scott Strickland's idea. He backed this. The boosters had the money. The boosters wanted him out, and the boosters wanted Lane Kiffin. But Scott Strickland wanted to retain this guy. So when he said that, because all we heard the last 2 months was, okay, the boosters run this program. The boosters want him out. The boosters have the money, and they're going to go get Lane Kiffin if Ole Miss were to not make the playoff, which it might not happen, which you don't know yet. When they make a decision like this, yes, and I understand recruiting and all that. That's whatever to me. That's on the back burner. You're just basically saying that you are okay with being mediocre, man. Just moving forward, as long as Scott Strickland is the AD. In the statement he put out, he said, over the past several weeks, the young men on this football team represent what it means to be a Gator. Their resolve, effort, and execution and evident in their performance and growth each week, building a foundation that promises great success next season and beyond. Commitment to excellence and a championship caliber program is unwavering. What has Billy Napier done in the 2.5 to 2 to 3 quarters of the season he's been here to show you that he's had a championship caliber program, not a team? You can have a good team. You can have a collection of good guys and have a good team, and it can go back to trash. You're building a program.
See Florida State right now.
Yes.
They were undefeated last year, and now they're the worst team in the Power Four.
Yes. How are you building a program? Because here's the thing. All these teams that you consider competition, everybody in the SEC, Florida State, and Miami, they're all doing this. They're giving a fist bump. They're like, good. They're all saying, that's a good thing that Billy Napier standing, because we can live with that. We can live with that. Now, if somebody like Lane Kiffin were to be there, or whoever else, if Florida were to get somebody else, they would be, ooh, all right, we got some serious competition. We got to be on our A game now. And that's not what it is. I heard Matt Hayes also went on to say on the ride home before we started this, Florida was really good under Spurrier, and they were really good under Urban Meyer. Those guys were sharks. Those guys didn't give a damn what you thought. They wanted to put up 50, and they wanted to kill you every time they played, regardless of what situation is. Billy Napier's not that. Billy Napier is just calm. He's chill. He's a nice guy. He just goes on about his business, and that's fine. But that's not how you win at the University of Florida, man. And he comes back next year, and I know that fans, 9 out of 10, you want him gone. Okay, fine. But we agree. We all want Lane Kiffin. You and I want Lane Kiffin. But next year, you have the same schedule, and just say for the sake of this argument, everybody comes back next year. What's your hopes? To go 8-4? Because you're still going to be an underdog against Georgia and Texas and, A&M, maybe another team or two.
You got to go to Miami, so you'll probably be an underdog in that game.
Yep.
Who knows whether they're going to have a quarterback, but the fact they have to go there, I think they'll be an underdog.
Yeah. I don't get it, man. I really don't. Because here's the thing. You say this statement, and I know you said it's just a statement. It's not a decision. Okay, you go down the road, and then if you lose to Florida State, how's that going to look? Yeah. Like, what's this going to mean for this program if you lose to Florida State when they're probably going to have one win going into the last week of the year?
Yeah, that's obviously the nightmare scenario, right? If you're Scott Strickland today and you've just put this out publicly, the worst possible thing that could happen to you is that now, after they've been playing better for the last month, imagine if now they just completely fell on their face and looked like Miami and A&M again. That's the nightmare scenario. If that were to happen, Dylan, if they were to lose to Florida State, because if they start playing bad after lose to Florida State, they won't win a game the rest of the season as well. That would be the dumbest Scott Strickland has ever looked. And I think most people in the comments right now, just reading by what everybody's saying, is probably thinking that today with this statement is the dumbest Scott Strickland's ever looked. And that's becoming a high bar. Dylan, we've already kind of hit both on it. I've kind of hit one side. You've kind of hit the other. There's two. I believe that with this post or with this public announcement, what this is, I think there's two different conversations that need to be had. One is, and this is the one everybody wants to talk about, is this the smart decision? Should they keep him? Should they move on? Should they cut bait, go try to get somebody else, whatever? That's the one conversation, and that's the conversation that we've had all year. And I guess we won't continue to have it because Scott Strickland just ended the conversation for all of us. So that conversation is kind of over effectively, right? Because they're doing it. So, okay, now it becomes, he's the coach. There's no chance that they have somebody else next season. Was this the smart move to make this post, make this announcement, and was this good timing to make it right now? I think yes, understanding that they've committed to Billy Napier because they're already on crunch time. They're already on borrowed time. They're already behind the wheel of this recruiting class. And if Napier's going to be your guy, you've got to commit to him regardless. And you've got to do everything you can to go all in and try to salvage what is a 51st, I believe today, ranked recruiting class that needs a lot of salvaging. I think they'll get better, but how much better, who knows? This comment from Kings Aiko. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. Was Strickland afraid of losing the 50th ranked recruiting class? They're trying to salvage this class, and I'm not telling you they're going to do it, but I'm telling you they need to attempt to do it.
That's all garbage, man. If you get the right guy at your program, you're not worried about recruiting. You're not worried about the guys in your program if they may leave. You're not worried about if Lagway, well, he might leave. That's why we have to keep him. All we heard last offseason for the people that defended Billy Napier was, well, he has a good recruiting class, so we can't get rid of him. That's the stupidest thing, man. If you bring in a good guy, people are going to believe in the guy that's at the helm of your program. It's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I've always been in the camp of you don't keep a coach to keep players or recruits, especially recruits, because they're not even on your team yet. I firmly believe that. But that's what I'm saying. That's one piece of the conversation is should they have done this in the first place? Should they have decided to keep Billy Napier? The other conversation is, was this post a smart thing to do, given that they already made that decision? And I think those are two different conversations. I think this post was smart, and they needed to do this, given the fact they already made this decision weeks ago. Do I agree with that decision? Hell no. I believe we've talked about this. And look, I've definitely been the bigger supporter of Napier between you and I in our podcast since we've done it. I've been a little more willing to say, hey, there's some positive signs here. Maybe they keep giving him more of a chance. And you've been more along the camp of they got to cut bait. I still believe that it was I believe that the cement doesn't need to be dry right now in terms of he's definitely staying. I believe that they probably they need to have him prove more on the field until they fully decided to keep him back. So I don't agree with that decision. Given that they made it, I'm glad that they're all in, if that makes sense what I'm trying to say.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Scott Strickland says in his statement, let me make sure I say this correctly before I'm confident that Billy will meet challenges and opportunities ahead. We'll work alongside to support the changes needed to elevate the football program. He has remained strong, showing up game after game to stand with our team. The loyalty creates an incredible environment, yada, yada, yada. So you believe, Scott Strickland, that Billy has done a good job with what he's done in the last couple of weeks. This is what he's done in the last couple of weeks. He's beaten Mississippi State, a team that has not won a conference game, that probably won't win a conference game. You've beaten Kentucky, a team that's 1-6 in conference play. You
they beat Stanford.
Yeah, you beat Sam. I'm talking about just the month of October. You went toe-to-toe. You went toe-to-toe with Tennessee. Should have beat them.
But didn't because of coaching. That's important
to bring discipline.
Up. Yeah.
And who did they? Kentucky. And then you beat a UCF team that we thought was good, is not good, and just fired their OC. So basically, I agree with you that they made this decision a couple of weeks ago. And after the Georgia game, knowing how they played specifically without Lagway, he wants to go with this. That's kind of where I stand. But also, we are such prisoners of the moment because of the internet, and we, during the games we just scroll on our Twitter and our Facebook, and we react, and it's just go. it wasn't that long ago that we got absolutely rolled over by Miami, and we didn't have any business with them on the same field. And the same thing for A&M. And then you go back to last year, a team that looks completely unprepared on offense. That's my biggest thing. If Billy Napier is good on offense and it's rolling and the defense isn't good, I can live with that. You can get a new DC, you can get some guys, and you can just, you can patch that up. But so many times the offense looks ill prepared, man. It's so ill prepared. And I think DJ is going to be good if he does stay. And I think all the backs that are coming back and the offensive line, and there's not a lot of seniors on this team. But just doing this just shows that you're okay with being mediocre, and that's fine. But this fan base is not fine with being mediocre, man. This fan base is not fine with being 7-5, 8-4. You want to win championships year after year and be in contention for it, and at minimum, be in this 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I mean, to the last point you just made about this fan base is not okay with being mediocre. I mean, just look at all these comments right now, and you can kind of see that to be the case. Dylan, I think what's going on here is I think in the micro, there's an argument to be made that this was the smart decision. But in the macro is why people are so upset today. And I don't think that's off base. The macro is you've got a coach that has shown you practically nothing in 2.5 years. After the last coach basically quit on you. After the coach before that was terrible. After the coach before that was so from the macro, the common denominator here are not the coaches that keep getting hired and fired. The common denominator now is Scott Strickland. I understand Jeremy Foley hired Jim McElwain and Will Muschamp, but for for a good body of work now, going on close to a decade, I believe Strickland took the job in 16 or 17, something like that. So like 7-8 years, something like that now. He's been the common denominator. He's why people are upset. Because I've heard a lot of comments about people saying people saying comments about Florida's Mississippi State now. Florida is one of those average SEC teams now that just maybe every now and again has a blip in being good. And they're not really a consistent winner to be taken seriously like LSU and Alabama and Georgia. And that's not off base. That's not wrong. That's been the truth about Florida for some time now. And that's frustrating as hell. And a post like this feels like a slap in the face to a lot of people. And I understand people feeling that way.
Yeah, it's just it's a sign of mediocrity to me. And you play 4 tough games, kind of what you have Florida State. If you find a way to win 2 of them, you make a bowl, and you get it 15 extra practices before you play in a toilet bowl in Tampa, Orlando, or wherever. I saw this from Barrett Sallee before we got on here. Do you buy is not the right word. He basically said that Billy Napier should deserve an extra year because of how hard his guys are fighting this year or the last couple of weeks and how well, he's done since the A&M game. I hear all that, man, but dude, this isn't high school football, man. This is a results-oriented business. And at the end of the day, it's all about your wins and your losses. I just don't – I don't care about how this team is playing, man. I don't care that Billy Napier hasn't lost his locker room. That's your job. Your job is to bring what we'll be starting next year, 105 scholarship players, get them as a group, hire a staff, make sure they're all on the same page, and have the same plan to go and win football games on Saturday. All the other stuff, I don't care how good of a guy he is. That drives me up a wall, dude. The amount of times people talk about, I like him as a guy. Has anybody ever talked about Spurrier and Urban Meyer during his tenure? I don't really like the guy that Steve Spurrier is. I don't really like the guy of Urban Meyer. But they win football games. That's the only thing I care about, man.
Actually, usually the opposite was said about Urban and Spurrier.
Yeah.
Most people were like, I don't like him. He's that guy's a narcissist. That guy's bad to deal with and whatever. But On
Yeah, as
Saturdays,
if like, I'm gonna go have Thanksgiving dinner with him in a couple weeks.
yeah, but on Saturdays they kick an ass. So
I don't know, man.
it's that statement and a big reason I think it's frustrated everybody so much today. We've already kind of touched on this. Outside of just they should fire Billy instead, I think that Strickland putting out that statement, it's just kind of a stamp and just kind of an obvious like symbolization of where Florida football is. I think that's what makes people so upset, and I understand that it's teams like LSU ain't need to do stuff like this. You know what I mean? Teams like Bama ain't gotten to do stuff like this. Tony doesn't care if he's a good guy. Yeah, I don't care if he's a good guy. That and what's unfortunate, actually, let me pivot a little bit and mention something here. I know you just said it drives you crazy, Dylan, and I agree because I don't care if he's a good guy either. What's unfortunate is the people that can do something about decisions like that does matter to them. A lot of the reason Dan Mullen got fired was A, because he quit on the program, but B, because he was not being well liked in the building.
That's part of the reason. And he had a recruiting violation on him too.
Right.
That all added up.
And he had stuff, and he was saying stuff during COVID, like come pack the swamp, and that upset people behind closed doors and allowed for them to pull the trigger on him a lot faster. With Jim McElwain, when he was faking death threats, that allowed them to pull the trigger on him a lot faster. Billy Napier, because he is the good guy, because he does say the right things, he represents the university in the right way, he's a good Gator. And BS like that doesn't matter. People behind closed doors, it does matter to them. Unfortunately, I know the rest of us hate it, and I know that doesn't mean anything, winning and losing ball games, but that matters with the people, with the powers that be, because they're not willing to go. They haven't shown this, at least. They're not willing to go hire the shark that you're talking about. They're not willing to go hire somebody that's going to shake the snow globe of the athletic department and say, you're not doing your job good enough, and you're not doing your good job enough. That's what somebody like Lane Kiffin would probably come in and do. And he would publicly complain about certain things the university is doing wrong. And that athletic department does not want that to happen. That's why they like people like Billy Napier. That's why Billy Napier's getting this long leash, getting chance after chance after.
Yeah, Graham, you're breaking up a little bit, but if you take out Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, this program is at average has won 6 to 7 games a year. And that's pitiful considering that you live in the state of Florida, that you are in the recruiting hotbed. You're right by Georgia. I mean, I coach high school football. I've done it the last couple of years. You can go to any small pocket of the state of Florida, and they have dudes. And I'm not just talking Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, some in the pan. You can go to Dixie County, and they got a dude. You can go to Yulee. You can go to all these small towns, Baker County and McClenny. And there are guys that are just unreal. Not saying it's like that every year, but it's like that time in and time out. And it doesn't seem like Florida ever gets those guys. I mean, the reason we all know why Miami dominated for all those years is because they had the state of Miami. The state of Miami, they closed off South Florida, and they got all those guys, and they said, those are our guys. And I know that Florida's competing with a lot of these teams, and you know, you have the NIL and you have the transfer portal, but you have so much talent around you, and it doesn't seem like Florida does this. So we'll see. Graham, are you there? You're froze on my end in the podcast studio.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You do hear me. Yeah, I tried to turn off Wi-Fi and hope that would be better, but then I lost you completely. Is my videos frozen?
Yeah, video's frozen, but I can hear you, so we're good. We'll just go ahead and say if you want to react to that.
Yeah, man. Like, I know, again, I know people are upset. I know you're upset for sure, Dylan, because you've been way more passionate about they got to let him go than I have. I've been I've taken up for a decent amount this year. I can't get away from that. So to me, at this point, I think, how does this look moving forward now? I think we've kind of covered everything we need to about what this kind of says about where Florida's been for a long time now. It's kind of a big black eye on the last decade plus now of Gator football, and says a lot of things that don't look great. But what you got to look at now is what is it going to look like now moving forward? The concern is this move going to upset so many of the fans that we're seeing, to the point where a lot of impactful boosters and stuff, it's going to upset them as well. And they're going to say, screw this. I ain't giving you $1 until you move on from this guy. If that world is a possibility, then they're really in trouble. Jalen says there's always NCAA 25 for Florida to be good. Even in that game, sometimes it's hard for Florida to be good. That's obviously the nightmare scenario. And the way that nightmare scenario I think could happen is if the last month of this season they start really not playing well. If they revert back to their old ways and start playing terribly, then this is going to look like one of the dumbest things that's ever happened in the history of Florida football. If they keep playing pretty well and showing some fight, and hopefully they destroy FSU to end the year, and then maybe they've swung one and gotten a bowl game, swung another one so they can get to a bowl game, and then hopefully they play well in the bowl game. And that's all you can hope for now, is that they play well, and you can go into next year with some momentum and Lagway and some of these young players, and hoping that this turns out to be the right decision. But goddamn, this is a big gamble, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. This was going to be a preview of the Texas game. The one thought I have is, dude, this whole DJ Lagway thing that he might play I'm going to predict the future here. He's got a hamstring issue. He practiced allegedly yesterday. We'll go to the game Saturday. He won't dress. And then we'll go to next week, and Lagway will practice and he won't play. And I think they'll do this every week, and then he might maybe possibly play against Florida State. And I don't think he'll play that game either. I know you want to play the game that, let Texas have the unknown of who's going to be the quarterback when they play Florida. But I less than 10% chance. I think Lagway plays Saturday.
Yeah, and if it's the Aiden Warner show out there and they get murdered, then this post is going to look all that more stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, timing is everything. For all the stuff that you and I and everybody else has hated on Scott Strickland, the guy kind of strategically put this out there because he knows what's up against Florida with what they have the next couple of weeks. So, the spread's 21. I think it's going to stay at 21, and I think Texas will have their way. I'll be surprised if the defense, if they'll hang with them. But if the offense keeps going 3 and out, the defense is going to end up folding in the second half, because you just can't stay out there the whole game and expect to keep making stops, especially against that good of an offense when Texas is coming off a bye, has gotten guys healthy, and they've shown they're one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, and something that really worries me about that game too is, and we talked about this the other day, Georgia, one thing that Georgia did not really test Florida on that Texas will be able to is throwing the ball deep down the field. Texas has guys that can run by you and go get it. And obviously Ewers has a great arm. So those chunk plays in the passing game could be really problematic for the Gators in this game. And if they don't keep that in check, it could get ugly and get away from them really fast. I'll say this too, Dylan, with Strickland making this statement today, I think something that I've probably been a little bit guilty of the last couple of weeks is, and this is something that I think a lot of people are probably upset about, I think me personally, I've probably lowered my standards for what I expect the Gators to be like week in, week out, just because it's been so bad for so long. So I've given Napier probably more of a pass than I should have, and I'm rewarding just playing well, just playing hard, even when that doesn't necessarily mean or it definitely means they're not where they're supposed to be. What I'll say though, now that Strickland has made this post, that's over. You better come out and perform week in, week out. You just got this ringing endorsement from your AD, and you just got told publicly. He basically told everybody publicly to go suck it. So if Napier's getting that backed, well then, no time like the present to come tell all the angry fans that they need to go suck it too and go win some ball games. Because if he wins ball games, no one thinks they're going to beat Texas. If they can be competitive against Texas, put up a fight, just knock it right out of the stadium. At this point, I'll say this now. I'll say this again, and just kind of piggybacking off what I just said, Dylan. And I think this is fair. Now that Strickland made this post, and now that they've given this ring endorsement for Billy Napier, I expect them to beat LSU or Ole Miss now. I will be disappointed if they do not. That's where I believe now, and that they got to beat Florida State and they got to make a bowl game. Because if you're gonna endorse this guy and you're going to say we need the future, then I need results that tell me that there is a future here. It goes back to something that you said, and I think a lot of people agree with this, and I today agree with this. What has Billy Napier shown you that at some point he's going to be in the SEC championship game? That he's going to be playing for national titles? Today, that answer is nothing at all.
What's the best game that he's won so far at Florida? Tennessee last year, and probably, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, no, Florida rep is saying with that quarterback, come on, I get it. It got harder for them to win these games, not easier. My whole point is, because Strickland just gave that endorsement, this guy's here for the long haul. My standards are now elevated from what they were before this post was made, and I believe that that's fair.
Yeah, we're it was about a month ago that Florida was an underdog, and I understand that it's Vegas and they just predict a line. Vegas is something; it's not everything. But a month ago, Florida played UCF, and Florida's had top 15 recruiting classes every year since 2019, and UCF has never had a recruiting class in the top 50 since 2019, and UCF was a favorite in the swamp. And Florida handled them. But going into that game, it was almost a surprise that Florida won the game. Yeah. And that's kind of where the program sits right now. That's kind of where we sit with how this season is, man. Like, it was so bad that we were content and we were fine with beating UCF 24-13. And
in a game that, again, because of coaching, they should have won that game 45-10. They should have, that should have been an embarrassment by the end of the game, and UCF sort of hung around at the end because of more coaching stuff. So last thing to hit that I would like to hit on, Dylan, real quick before we get out of here is I have to imagine, I think you're going to agree with me on this, I have to imagine that this public endorsement and saying that he's back next year regardless, I have to imagine that's going to come with some stipulations, right? You got to get rid of some guys on your staff that ain't cutting it. You got to hire an OC. Do you believe that stuff is coming? Or do you think that Strickland's just going to be like, nah, he's my guy. He can do him. He can do his thing.
I lean he's going to say he's my guy. And if he's my guy, then I trust him to do whatever he wants to do. I don't know if you've done it for 3 years and you don't have an OC and you haven't named a coordinator. I mean, the guy a couple weeks ago was asked something about a D coordinator. I forget who it was that asked the question. He's like, yeah, we have a collection of guys that make the decision. How hard is this? Have one guy.
Yeah.
One person makes a decision. Go. Yep. So, all right. I'm done venting.
That was Dylan. I'm excited that's the. I don't see you're not an emotional guy. I don't see you kind of rah very often. So that got me fired up, man. I'm ready to go have a great rest of the day.
I dropped a pretty sick reaction video that Trent at the station. He does a lot of social media stuff at the station. I did it was like your reaction to Billy Napier coming back. I'd give a fist bump and I kind of yelled to where everybody at the office could hear me. So, yeah, pretty pumped. Billy's the guy, baby. You know, I wear that. Where's that damn hoodie at? Nah, it's probably dirty in my room. I got that hope hoodie. That's my profile picture on my Twitter. It's the old Obama campaign hope with his face on it, but it's Billy Napier from Barstool. I wanted Billy to get fired because that hoodie was going to go into the Hall of Fame, and I was going to have that forever, and it was going to look great. Now it doesn't look as great because Florida now does have hope. So, yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody hopping on a Thursday afternoon. That's a lot of people for hopping on a Thursday afternoon. Like, do y'all not work? I mean, I don't work. But
bro, we got people engaging with us. You got to dig at them, dude. Why are you like this, bro?
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Dylan said before the Florida Georgia game, please don't talk to me if you see me at a tailgate.
I said that.
Dylan said the problem with tailgating is I hate people. I don't like talking to No, but in all seriousness, I know you're about to say it too. Like, we got a lot of people watching, a lot of people interacting, upset. A couple people have kind of been defending it, defending the move. Most people against it pretty adamantly, and sharing their voices and kind of using this time and platform with us to vent. And I think I speak for both of us that we really, really appreciate everybody engaging, everybody coming in and watching. It's been able to help grow us. I think Dylan and I both had a blast in this podcast all year so far. We're going to keep doing it. But we really appreciate everybody coming in. Whether you agree with us, disagree with us, think we're idiots, think we're smart, don't really care. Just come watch, come vent, come disagree, agree. That's what sports debate's all about. So yeah, we appreciate it. And, as more news unfolds, more games happen, more stuff happens for us to be pissed off about, happy about, laugh about, cry about, who cares? Come hang with Denmark and Marsh where you get your best Gator stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody hopping on here. All seriousness,
man.
And the game's at noon, so we'll give you a reaction to the game at 3:30 ish, and we'll go from there, Graham.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see y'all.
Peace.